I want to start my talk today by asking you guys a very, very powerful question, and that's simply this. How clear is your vision? You heard me correctly. I said, how clear is your vision? You know, as a child growing up in Ohio, I was known by my peers for three things. Number one, I was super smart. So smart that I actually skipped a grade. I went from kindergarten to second grade, totally skipped over first grade. Number two, I was talkative. I routinely got in trouble from elementary school all the way through high school for talking too much. My teacher would move me at least 3 to 4 times a quarter because I would consistently interrupt her class. And number three, I was the kid that had eagle-eye vision. That means my sight was absolutely flawless. This means I could see anything clearly from a great distance. Now, out of those three things that I was known for, I was proudest of number three on the list. That was my vision. You know, when walking home from football practice in the 4th grade, one of the worst things that could possibly happen to you was to get chased by an angry stray dog. Well, my sight was so good that I would routinely spot stray dogs from 2 blocks away. I would instruct my friends that we should jump a fence so that way we can stay safe all the way home. And when riding around with my dad in the back of his car in the days of MapQuest.com, I would be the eagle-eye navigator, helping him to figure out which way to turn. And oftentimes, my eagle-eye sight would spot the destined location literally from blocks away. On a side note, can you guys believe there's actually a moment in history where we printed out like 15 sheets of paper and traveled around to locations like pirates looking for a buried treasure? Unbelievable, right? So everyone around me relied on my eagle-eye vision, unbeknownst to me that everything was going to radically change. You see, my 10th grade year, I decided to go out for the high school basketball team. And within 1 day of tryouts, I made the team. However, to be officially accepted, I still had one thing left to do. That was to obtain an up-to-date physical examination. Now, I was in great shape, so I knew I was going to pass that test with flying colors. But in the back of the exam, there's also a vision test. And for the first time in my life, Mr. Eagle-Eye, the guy who can see it all from a distance, is about to be tested beyond his limits. Now, you guys are familiar with getting your eyes tested, right? You plop down in the chair, they would dim the lights back in the day, and this giant chart would pop up on the wall on the opposite side of the room. And the optometrist would begin to instruct you to read the chart from right to left with one of your eyes closed. Now, reading the chart, that wasn't a problem. I mean, the font size of the letters are like 60-inch font, right? I mean, who struggles with reading something like that? But things got a little dicey as we got to the middle. The font size of the letters felt like they were magically shrinking, and I knew by how hard I was beginning to squint that my chances of reading correctly were shrinking as well. So what do you think I did in this situation? I think I did what most people would do. I started randomly guessing letters and hoped for a miracle. A, E, the I, the O, the U, and sometimes Y. There's a teacher in this room that's going to catch that in a second. But at that moment, the optometrist let out a sigh, signaling that I was failing this test miserably. And as she turned on the lights, I got quiet in my chair. It took about 27 seconds for her to realize something was wrong. So she asked me, "You don't want to wear glasses, young man?" My response was a resounding no. "May I ask you why not?" "Because they make fun of kids in my grade to wear glasses, and everyone knows me because of my ability to see things at a great distance. And honestly, I'm not ready to give that level of fame up." "Oh, I see," she replied. "Listen, young man, there are 3 things I need you to understand before you leave here today. Number 1, change is constant, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. Number 2, you always have options. Listen, you don't have to wear glasses if you don't want to. You can opt for contact lenses, and when you turn 18, you can do LASIK surgery. And number 3, my job is to send you out into this world with perfect vision." Now, I'll pause for a second because I believe that the quality of the question determines the quality of the result. So I have to ask her, what is perfect vision? She replied, "Perfect vision is 20/20. It's the best vision a human being can get." So I have a question for you guys today. How clear is your vision? You know, 3 years ago, we successfully made it through one of the most horrific times in history on planet Earth. I'm talking about that hell year known as 2020. Ironically, I tell most people that this was the year of perfect vision, 2020. You see, right up to December 31st, 2019, people from all over the world were celebrating the coming of a new year. People were screaming, "New year, new me," planning their goals, their dreams, without knowing that once we crossed that 2020 threshold, COVID-19 would literally change our way of life. It took a virus out of control that we didn't understand alongside of a 3-month government-mandated shutdown to change life as we know it. And believe it or not, we're still recovering from the global pandemic shutdown. You know, for the first time in a long time, we were forced to look at certain aspects of our life and realize that we were approaching things with astigmatism. Some of us were farsighted with our thoughts. Some of us were nearsighted with our thoughts. You know, there are a bunch of things I thought prior to 2020 that I only saw clearly when I realized how farsighted and nearsighted I was on certain topics. So 2020 was the year I was forced to get clear about my goals, my dreams, my aspirations, and most importantly, my vision. So how have you been affected since the shutdown? You know, when it comes to the pursuit of your goals and your dreams, your passion, and your purpose, I want to spend the rest of my time here today going over 5 ways you can still get what you desire out of life post-pandemic with a philosophy I call GPSing your way to success. So how does it work? Well, I'm glad you asked. The reason why I chose a GPS for this analogy is that I firmly believe a GPS is a vision machine. That means you give it an address, and the GPS's sole mission is to take you wherever you want to go. So number 1, we got to set an address. This is a choice we make. If our lives truly mirror a GPS, then a GPS is useless unless we decide where we want to go, but our lives become super effective when we understand where we're trying to get to. This means it is your responsibility, not your mom's, not your dad's, not your grandma, not your grandpa, not your favorite teacher. The responsibility belongs solely up to you. So where do you want to go in this thing called life? You see, when we get clear on the destination, we also get clear on the resources that we're going to need to make the trip. This means that I need to be selective over resources such as my money, my time, my education, my friendships, my mentorships, and most importantly, my habits. Because all these things, if I'm intentional, not accidental, can help me arrive at my desired destination much quicker and much faster. Guys, it only took me 26 years to figure this out, but knowing it allowed me to create 2 successful businesses and a 100% completely debt-free lifestyle. Number 2, we must learn to move with clarity over confusion. Now, I've never seen this, guys. I've never seen a confused GPS. You know, I give a GPS an address, and this job is to provide me with crystal clear instructions that can be followed to the letter. Why? Because it's hard to get to your destination if your instructions are confusing. So when it comes to what you want in life, in college and after you graduate and leave here, can you see your fantastic future with clarity, or are you operating in a state of confusion? You know, one of the things that helped me tremendously was knowing the power behind programming the subconscious mind. Your mind, believe it or not, works pretty much like a computer. That means whatever program you feed your mind on a daily basis, its job is to take that and produce results for better or for worse. This is why it's so important to spend time feeding our mind what we want instead of what we don't want. Every single day your mind is being programmed, from the shows you watch to the commercials you see to the conversations you have, and over time, if you're not careful, you'll end up acting on these thoughts. You know, mega corporations spend upwards of $5 million to run a 60-second ad on Super Bowl Sunday every year because they know they can program your results based on what you see on a regular basis. So why are we not doing the same? I mean, why are we not getting up every day intentionally subjecting our minds to the things we desire? Because right now, you're living your best life by default or design, but that task is solely up to you. So get clear about what you want and surround yourself with people, places, and things that'll help you to make your goals and dreams your reality. And number 3, we got to stay connected and dodge the dead zones. You know, for my GPS to work, I need to continuously maintain a strong Wi-Fi connection. As long as that connection is strong, my GPS can take me anywhere I want to go. However, there are pockets of the city that I call dead zones. You know, when you hit a dead zone, you temporarily lose your signal, and if you're not careful, you can end up losing your way. So, do you have a strong signal currently, or are you hanging out inside a dead zone? How do you maintain a strong signal? You know, for me, I choose to stay intentionally connected to mentors and friends and family members that uplift me. I choose to remain connected to like-minded people. You know, they say birds of a feather flock together, so I stay connected to the right education and organizations that I know can help me arrive at my appointed destination. But I must be aware of the dead zones in my life. Sometimes those dead zones can be toxic family, friends, and even coworkers. And at times, it could be my own limited belief systems or the doubts that creep up when I'm walking into scary, unfamiliar territory. You know, when I enter a dead zone, I feel stagnant, so it's imperative that I find my way back to a place where I can create a strong signal. Number 4, we got to be willing to recalculate. There's been several occasions where I gave my GPS an address, gassed up the car, got on the road because I was distracted, messed around, and missed my turn. There's even been occasions where I was following the GPS instructions to the letter, only to realize a car accident or a road closure kept me from moving forward. You know, whenever this happens, my GPS doesn't beat me up and call me names. It doesn't instruct me to go back home. It focuses on the original address provided at the beginning of the journey and immediately begins to recalculate as many alternative routes as possible that can get me there. It never gives up on the assignment. You know, the global pandemic changed a lot of how we do business. It affected everything without our permission. But that doesn't mean that you must give up on your goals and your dreams. Are you willing to recalculate along the way? Do you understand there's always more than one way to arrive at your fantastic finish line? You know, I love what Bruce Lee said. He said to be formless like water. If you pour water inside of a cup, it takes on the shape of the cup. He means the water will adapt to its environment. And for you to escape Murphy's Law, which says that anything that can go wrong will go wrong at that one inopportune point in time, you too, my friend, must learn to become formless. And you must believe in the ability to recalculate. Why? Because there's always more than one way to make it to your fantastic finish line. And number 5, we must check the history log. Now, an old friend of mine got caught cheating on his significant other many years ago. And you guys will never guess how this happened. It wasn't racy text messages. He didn't get caught smelling like her perfume. He didn't get caught sliding into the DMs. He got caught via the GPS. You see, he had been messing around with said mistress for roughly about 3 months. And one day while his wife was driving his car, she accessed the GPS, looked into the history log, and found a bunch of addresses there that she wasn't familiar with. Now, what type of addresses, I'm sure you're asking? Well, there were some addresses to some expensive 5-star restaurants that the wife had never been to. There were some addresses to some fun date night places that she also had never been to. And if you haven't figured it out by now, there was some rather pricey hotel addresses that popped up in the GPS history log that she definitely had never been to. Now, I'm not telling you this story so that all the women in the room can leave out here saying, I heard this great, fantastic speaker by the name of Dr. Karim, and he taught me how to catch my man cheating 101. That is not a class. That's not a syllabus on this campus. But the reason why we're going to wind down our story on this point right here is simply this. If I were to walk off this stage and go person to person, chair to chair, for those of you watching by video, step into your living room and ask you for your life's GPS, just so I can take a look at the history log, would I find that you're guilty of cheating on your goals and dreams because you're spending all this time chasing everybody else's agenda? You know, as you move to your current stage of this journey, be clear about the addresses that get reflected in your life's history log, because where our focus goes, our energy flows. And we want to be sure that we're giving birth to all the right things. Why? Because the addresses we input in our life's GPS will always determine our destination. You know, guys, if you can apply these 5 principles I've given you on a regular basis, you should have no problem hearing these powerful words.
You have arrived at your destination.
My name is Dr. Karim Ellis. They call me the #1 breakthrough strategist. I want to thank the TEDx community for coming out today. And remember, together with clear vision, we can all GPS our way to success. Thank you.